Kulan Rabla Gemara. We are up to Daf Nun Dalad Amid Aleph. The 2 dots, 5 lines from the bottom. So in the Mishnah, we tabulate the number of kiyas that they do throughout the day, and basically it came out to be a total of a minimum of 21, a maximum of 48. Every single day was 21 because Carbon Tomid, they sang it, they blew 9 times. And it's 3 sets of 3 because in the beginning of the shir, then they paused in the middle of the shir, then they paused again, the end of the song of the Levim, they blew. And then the first 3 was when they opened the gates. And then on Sukkot, they had a maximum of 48 because they had all these 12 additional ones, plus the Kal Musaf, all the additional ones that they blew regarding the Nusach HaMayim. And the Mishnah mentions when it talks about Nusach HaMayim, they did the upper gate, the lower gate, when they drew the water. And then it says you did it one set by the Mizbech. And previously we said that they blew it on the 10th step. So the Gemara says, this last Mishnah, the previous Mishnah said that they used to blow on the 10th step. This last Mishnah said that they blew by a set of 3 by the Mizbech when they set up the Aravas. But the Ilu Lamaila Asidi, like Tony, doesn't mention about the 10th step. It seems that some people include the 3 blowing blasts by the Mizbech, and some people include 3 blasts on the 10th step, but they're not the same. You either hold one or the other. Says the Gemara, as Gemara explain, Masnis and Mani, who's the author of Mishnah, must be the Belez Ben Yaakov. What's the story? The Tanya we learned, Sholish Lamaila Sidis. It says in the Brisa that there were 3 on the 10th step. The Belez Ben Yaakov says, Sholish al Gabi Mizbech, not on the 10th step, but rather they did it by the Mizbech when they put up the Arabas. The one who says on 10th step, doesn't agree with that they blew any when they placed it by the Mizbech. That they blew those 3 blasts. But the one who said they did it by the Mizbech, he does not believe that they did any on the 10th step. In other words, the one who says you blew it on the 10th step says all the blasts have to do with Nusach HaMayim. The Mizbech has nothing to do with Nusach HaMayim. That's the Arava. So why would they blow there? Because we only blow because the Shaft HaMayim Besasim. So therefore, we have joy and everything else. And we know for a fact that there has to be a total of 12. The question is how you divide those 12. Right? 4 sets of 3. We know the upper gate. We know the bottom gate, lower gate. We know when they drew the water. So the 4th one was being on the 10th step because that's pretty a pronounced place. And nothing to do with the Mizbech. Another opinion says, no, there was just 1 set of 3 for the Mizbech. Saying, well, I might tell you, what's his for? Why by Mizbech? Even talk about the talk high love shower. He says, because the 10th step doesn't make sense. A gate, I understand, that's the beginning of something. What the 10th step is right in the middle. What's the point of the 10th step? Don't talk a high love shower. It's not a gate. I know there has to be a total of 12. We've already assigned 9 out of the 12. Question: what do you do with the last 3? To put on the 10th step just to be Yitzit to have more blasts when it comes to Chamayim, Stam Levolta, doesn't make sense. I'd rather put Mizbech. It was an important service that's taking place at the Mizbech. Rabbanos Harikim to talk with Milamai says all the keys to revolve around filling the water. Where does Arava and Mizbech come in? You're right, it's not ideal, but I have an extra set of 3. I'd rather put it on the 10th step and associate it with Nusach HaMayim. Says the Gemara, Rabbacha came up from the south. He brought a brisa with him. It says in the pasuk, and the children of Aaron HaKohen Yitku, they will blow Kiya b'chatzaitzes with the trumpets. You don't have to say that they have to blow with the trumpets. We know what they do with the trumpets. I already said that on Yom Tov, uskatem b'chatzaitzes, they would say Musaf al oila seichem al ziv cheshav chechem. We already know that the trumpets you have to do Kiya. So why does that to say again the word blow? Just say you do that on Kohen b'chatzaitzes, and we'll know exactly what activity they do. Why does it say Yitku? Is hakoil lefi hamusafim. To tell you that they blow according to the Musafin. What does that mean? Who Tani Love, who Amalan, he learned his Braisa, and then he explained to them what it means. Should Toikin al Musaf Musaf. Rav Acha Vachnina holds every Musaf requires another 9 blasts. So if, let's say if Shabbos and Chodesh coincide in the same day, you need 18 blasts, 9 for Shabbos, Musaf of Shabbos, and 9 for the Musaf of Rosh Chodesh. That's what it means when it says here, that 9 blasts go with every single carbon Musaf. So it says the Gemara, Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, Erev Shabbos. It says that Erev Shabbos, if Friday, if Friday, we just learned yesterday, if Friday falls out in the middle of the Sukkot, Chaloid, Hayisham, this is the max. Mem Ches, 48, 21 for everyday activity. And then we have the 12 for, what do you call it? It's 21 for every activity. And then we had and then Musaf has another 9. So there you have that. And Erev Shabbos, you also have 6, 3 to tell people to stop from the work and step aside from the work, and 3 to prepare the Shabbos. And then you also have Nitzchamayim, another 12. So the maximum, Erev Shabbos, because you have that additional 6 to remind everyone about the advent of Shabbos. Therefore, and you add those to Sukkot, you have the extra 12. And the Musaf, all up, equals to 48. That's what the Mishnah says. Says the Gemara, is that the only instance, according to you, where you have 48? According to you, that every Musaf requires 9. We can have other instances where you have 48, for example, or even more. Says the Gemara, and if you're right that every Musaf requires 9, at least in the Shabbos. What about Shabbos falls out? Sukkot and Shabbos, Mishkachava, then you'll have Chamshin B'chad. You'll have a total of 51, because the extra Musaf, true, we don't blow the 6 blasts on Friday, but you're going to have 9 extra blasts for the Musaf, is Yom Tov and the Shabbos. So, Shabbos. So therefore, you'll have 51. On Shabbos, you won't have 51, you'll have 48. Because remember, the first set of 3, remember, every weekday was 21, 9 for the Tamid Shel Shachar, 9 for the 100 Bayim, and 3 for the opening of the gates. On Shabbos, since opening the gates is not really considered an avodah, we have no excuse to blow that on Shabbos. So therefore, you're back down to 48. So therefore, there's no milah in talking about this case over the case the Mishnah chose. They're both 48. Who is this person here that's not particular about the kind of flour he uses, that he should take out all the waste and the extraneous pebbles and everything else that's there? Why? Because every day, it says clearly in Mishnah, every day there was 21. And it doesn't say that Shabbos there wasn't 21. Comes out because if it's a Shabbos they don't blow, then it comes out that it's not every day. It's during the weekdays. So the Shabbos they also blew. So therefore the question of 51 is a valid question. But further question, even if we want to argue, that Shabbos they didn't blow for opening the gate. So therefore total 48. At least this Shabbos so nevertheless, the Mishnah is looking for an instance where you have 48. It shows Erev Shabbos and Chol Sukkot. Why not choose Shabbos in Sukkot? It'll both be 48, but it'll teach us something. And the Shammai Tata Mishnah will teach us an extra din that we wouldn't have known that it only talked about Erev Shabbos. For which din? Shammai Bened Rav Lezer ben Yaakov. We learned the din of Rav Lezer ben Yaakov that they blew by the Mizbeach, because it says in the Mishnah here that it doesn't count the 10th step. So we would know that our Mishnah followed Rav ben Yaakov that they actually blew 3 blasts by the Mizbeach. That's something we only know from here. And Shammai Bened also the Rav Acha bar Chanina. And we would know also this new din, which is even more significant, that every Korban Musaf requires 9 blasts. And on Shabbos, to get to 48, you have to give 9 for the Musaf of Shabbos and 9 for the Musaf of Sukkot. So that will teach us a new din. So why does the Mishnah choose to talk to us about Friday, talk to us about Shabbos, when we learn a brand new halach which we didn't know otherwise? So the fact that we learned Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov didn't give place from Mizbeach, we also know that from the dinner Friday. But the fact that every Musaf requires its own 9 kiyas, that's something brand new. So the Mishnah had, if you only chose one case, it would have been better, suitable to choose the case of Shabbos. You know why we did choose Shabbos? Very simple. Because on Shabbos, remember we learned previously that on Shabbos they would prepare everything on Friday. They just didn't put it into holy kelim, but they prepare everything on Friday. So on Shabbos, you're missing all of these blasts that are associated with filling the water, upper gate, lower gate, and filling the water, which doesn't happen on Shabbos. So therefore, you're actually much less than 48. The Batzit Tuvah, it's far less than 48. So the Gemara. And plus, it'd be Shabbos, you'd be missing the 6 on Friday. If you miss the 6 on Friday, the 12 or 9, because 3 would be by the 9 from here, so you're missing 15, you're way down the ladder. Says the Gemara, okay, but why doesn't the Mishnah include another example? Rosh Hashanah shechol leil Shabbos. If Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos, there are actually three Musafim here. You have Rosh Hashanah, you have Shabbos, and you have Rosh Chodesh. Even though we don't daven Rosh Chodesh, but we brought a Kar Musaf for Rosh Chodesh. So you already have 21 there. You have the 21 from every day, it's already 42. And the Ha'ika plus Musafim. You have Musaf Rosh Hashanah, and you have Musaf Rosh Chodesh, and Musaf the Shabbos. So you already have 21. And you have 27 for the three Musafim. You have 21 for every day. That's already 48. So it's equal to the maximum number. Give that an example, and it'll teach us the din that every Musaf requires its own glass. Says the Gemara, Erev Shabbat and Chag is, but you're right, I could have said that, but there's a bigger chiddush for us talking to us about Friday. And why is that? Lashmina, to tell you, Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, to tell you like Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, that he doesn't count the 10th step. If we would talk about Shabbos, we wouldn't know about the blasts, to do with whether it's on the 10th step or whether it's on his back, because we don't do it in Nisach HaMayim. So therefore, we want to talk about Friday, so the Al Mishnah can tell us that this town that feels the halacha of Lezer ben Yaakov, they didn't blow on the 10th step, they blew on his back. Says the Gemara, what's the problem? Why the Mishnah exclusive? Let the Mishnah give two examples. At least how did I say learn only this case, Rosh Hashanah, and not learn about Sukkot? Because if you don't learn about Sukkot, obviously you're not going to know that the Mishnah follows Lezer ben Yaakov. So talk about both cases. Give two examples. Give the example of Friday, so then we'll know what Lezer ben Yaakov did. They didn't blow on the 10th step, and then give us Rosh Hashanah, so then we'll know that you blow with extra 9 for Musaf. Says the Gemara, you're right. Our mission does not cite every possible example of 48. Gives you one example as a maximum, but there are other examples of 48. So what else did it omit? Shai at Erev Pesach. You know what left out? What about Erev Pesach? What about Erev Pesach? On Erev Pesach as well, you would have the whole same cheshbon of 48. Says the Gemara, English of Erev Pesach, Lav Shigurihu. In other words, how do you get Pesach to 48? Because by Pesach, you remember we learned in Psachim that they had three different groups of people coming in, and they would say 3 times Hallel by the carbon. Each Hallel, you blew the 9 blasts. So therefore, each what do you call it? There'll be an extra 27 blasts. So you do 9. Sorry, you need 9 blasts by each time you close the door. That's 3 times 9. There are 3 groups. So 3 times 9, minimum group is 30 people. We always had 3 groups. So it was 27 blasts plus the 21 of every day. That's 48. So the Mishnah could have mentioned that as an example of 48. And the Mishnah didn't. So just like it didn't mention Erev Pesach, doesn't mention Rosh Hashanah. Mishnah does not go here and cite every possible scenario where you'll have 48. Says the Gemara, that's your extra case the Mishnah could have mentioned and omitted. That's called shir. You know why? Because maybe the Hamani Rabbi Yehudi, maybe Al Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda. What's Rabbi Yehuda? If you remember in Pesach, Rabbi Yehuda was of the opinion that the first 2 groups they said Hallel, 3 times. So what do you call it? And each time they said Hallel, they blew 3 times. So it's 9 for each time. But the third group, sometimes they would only say Hallel. In fact, he believed the third group was so quick, there were so few people left, that the third group they only said Hallel once. So that you would only have then a total of 21 blasts. 21 plus 21 is 42. And our Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda, that they didn't, the third time around, the third rotation didn't have the full 3 Hallels, they only usually had 1 Hallel. He says it never happened that they reached, that the third group had to say 3 times Hallel. There were very few people, and they only had, therefore, the third rotation, they only had only 1 Hallel, only 3 blasts. So it was 9, 9, and 3, 21. And therefore didn't reach the 48. So the Gemara, like Rabbi, I understand the Gemara says, Hakim like Yehuda, we just yesterday learned that Al Mishnah cannot conform to Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda hold that the 3 blasts were 3 separate mitzvahs. It was 1 mitzvah. Al Mishnah counts the Tkiyah as 1 mitzvah, and the True as a second mitzvah, and the Tkiyah, final Tkiyah is another mitzvah. So Al Mishnah clearly does not follow Rabbi Yehuda. How can you say the author of Al Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, and then tell me that therefore you don't mention Pesach, because Rabbi Yehuda says that there were no the third time around there weren't 3 Hallel, there weren't 3 Hallels. But Al Mishnah is not Rabbi Yehuda. So the Gemara, nobody's saying the author of Mishnah Rabbi Yehuda. The author of Mishnah is someone else. But when it comes to the Tkiyas, does not hold like Rabbi Yehuda. It holds like Chamim that you count each blast as a separate mitzvah. But maybe when it comes to Pesach, it does hold Rabbi Yehuda. So there's no raya. So therefore, the reason why our mission doesn't mention Erev Pesach is because it follows Rabbi Yehuda that never happened. So our question is, why does it mention Shana? Unless there is no such thing as blowing 9 keys for every single carbon musaf, and we disagree with Rabbi Achim. So tomorrow continues. No, it's not a raya. I'll tell you what the Mishnah. Erev Pesach Shecholi is Erev Shabbos. If Erev Pesach falls out on Erev Shabbos, okay, you're telling me our Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda. So from 48 it goes down to 42 because the last rotation, there's only 1 halal, not 3 halal, so you lost 6. But on Erev Shabbos, Apik Shis, you take out the last 6 of the last rotation. But the Ayil Shis, Fridays, remember you had an extra 6 blasts to remind people of the advent of Shabbos and take all the precautions necessary. So you had a total of 48. The 6 that you lost from the third group, who only said 1 halal instead of 3, but you add on those other 6 blasts, you have a total of 48. You have a total of 48. Why doesn't Mishnah mention that? The Gemara wants to argue with Rabbi Achu, who says that the fact that Mishnah doesn't mention it because they disagree. They hold that you don't blow 9 times for every carbon. The Rambam, when he counts the blasts, he talks about a minimum, doesn't talk about a maximum. Everybody wants to know, why doesn't he mention the maximum is 48? Because it seems to be here that if you don't follow Rabbi Yehuda, and you hold that the third time of Pesach, you actually had 3 groups, then if Erev Pesach falls out on a Friday, you actually had 48 plus the 6 of Friday, 54. So we see that you could have more than 48. So that's why the Rambam doesn't mention a cap. Says him further. The aim is if you the max is 48. But you get Erev Pesach only b'Shabbos. From Erev Pesach on Shabbos, the Ilah Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos itself, so therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you take away 6, but according to you, every musaf you add another 9. Ilah Rabbi Yehuda, okay, but it's an extra musaf because it's Shabbos, so you have 9. Rabbi Yehuda, Chamshin v'Chabad. So you have 9, and the third group you only have 1 group, so you take off 6. So instead of 27, you have 21. So you have 21, and so on and so forth. And then you have 21, and 21 is 42 plus the 9 of the extra musaf of Shabbos makes it 51. You have Erev Pesach and Shabbos, yeah. And Il Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, you would have Chamshin v'Sheva. According to Rabbanan, you would have 57, because they hold that the third group is full 9. So anyway, forget about this whole Abacha business. 48 of them, you have 57 here. Says Gemara, our mission is talking about examples that happen all the time. At a Pesach or Shabbos, less of Chol Shana, but at a Pesach. In other words, again, here's another reason why Rambam mentioned the cap. Our mission doesn't want to mention things that only happen on a regular basis. But at a Pesach, Shecholi is b'Shabbos, the less of Chol Shana. At a Pesach that falls on Shabbos doesn't happen every single year. Like Tani doesn't mention, but Sukkot happens every year. Chalamoid is always happens, so therefore we mention the day of Sukkot on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, or to Erev Shabbos. What was the example you gave of 48? If Erev Shabbos, if Chalamoid was Erev Shabbos. What about if Yom Tov? What about if the first day Yom Tov was on a Friday? Then there's no Nisach HaMayim. Then you write down from 48. And yet we don't mention it because it doesn't matter if it happens every year, as long as it happens sometimes. So why don't you mention Erev Pesach falls on a Shabbos? It happens sometimes, but you'll have 57. Every year. Sometimes it doesn't happen. For example, what happens if the first day of Sukkot falls on a Friday? If the first day of Sukkot falls on a Friday, there's no Nisach HaMayim, there's no blast Nisach HaMayim, you less than 48. And yet the Mishnah talks about a case where the first day of Erev Shabbos is the second day of Yom Chalamoid. So we see the Mishnah does include cases, it doesn't happen to happen every year. Says the Gemara, no, we disagree. It never happens that Sukkot should come out on a Friday. And why not? If we work out the calculator, the calendar, and we can see, or with Adam coming, we can see that based on what they're telling us, first day Sukkot will be a Friday, we are going to push it off. We're going to push it off. You know why? Because if Sukkot is on a Friday, when is Yom Kippur? On a Sunday. And we don't want Yom Kippur to coincide with Sunday. And why not? Because then you'll have 2-day Shabbos, 2 consecutive Shabbos. Just like we don't want Yom Kippur to fall on a Friday, because you'll have 2 consecutive. That's why Lo Yadu Rosh Shana can't fall on a Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. 2 of those days. The reason why it cannot fall out is because if Rosh Hashanah falls on this particular day, if Rosh Hashanah, for example, falls out on a Friday, Yom Kippur falls out on a Sunday. If Rosh Hashanah falls on a Wednesday, then Yom Kippur falls on a Friday, and we don't want that to happen. So we don't want the first day of Sukkot ever to fall on a Friday. One of my time, it was the reason keep it equally Yom Tov Chag Shabbos. If Sukkot falls on a Shabbos, Yom Kippurim Amos have when you keep the baby Chag Shabbos on a Sunday. If we push it away, says the Gemara, you tell me push it away. We hadn't finished a whole machlekes in the Gemara Shabbos. What do you do with the leftover carbon of Shabbos in Yom Kippur Motzei Shabbos? Do we actually push it off? But now we learn Chel Bei Shabbos, the fats of the carbon tamid of the afternoon of Shabbos. What do you do with the fats? You can bring them to Shabbos, even though it's Yom Kippur. We had a machlekes b'shmor of Akiva. Today we get Purim, so we have a machlekes there. We see clearly from here what the fact that they're discussing what do you do with leftover fats on Shabbos? Do you bring in that Shabbos itself, or can you leave it till Motzei Shabbos, which is Yom Kippur? So we see clearly that Yom Kippur can fall out on a Sunday. But Omar Abzei said there, when we were with the Rabbin, Amri, he said, "Oh, the Tanya we learned Kippur is Erev Shabbos." This that it said that Kippur falls down on Erev Shabbos, which is a Friday. They wouldn't blow on Friday to tell them the Shabbos is coming in because obviously nobody's working anyway. It's Kippur. And if Motzei Shabbos, and what would if you give for on Motzei Shabbos? Loy Hayim Mavdil, they wouldn't say Abdullah till Motzei Sunday. Still in Divra Hakolin, he said that goes according to Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. They're arguing about the leftover carbon Thomas Shabbat Bayim. Can you bring it Motzei Shabbos a Kippur or not? But everyone agrees you don't make Abdullah Motzei Shabbos. You wait till Sunday night, and everyone agrees that you don't make the blasts on Friday, which is Yom Kippur. Clearly, we see that Yom Kippur can fall out on a Sunday. And then he says. He said, when I came there, I found the Yosef will come, but he said that no, I disagree. It's not according to everybody. It only goes according to Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva holds that you don't bring the leftover fats from the Talmud Shabbat on Sunday. I'm going to say Shabbat Yom Kippur. He's the one who holds you don't make Havdalah, and he's the one who holds that you don't blast on Yom Kippur. He holds the two separate Yom Tov, and they're equal weight, and if you cannot do one activity on the other one. But what do we see clearly from all of this? It's patently clear that Yom Kippur can fall out on a Sunday. So the question is, why can't Sukkot fall out on a Friday? And why does the Mishnah mention that? Saying kasha, not a problem. Actually, a machlek is whether we can play around, tamper with the calendar. If we're in the days when we follow the witnesses and we knew that we didn't want to coincide with certain days, do we have the right to tamper with the testimony? I was telling the witnesses, we don't want to hear you today. Come back tomorrow, knowing that if we hear them today, we'll have to declare the Chedesh today, and then Yom Kippur will fall on a Sunday or on a Friday. Knowing all that, or like we said before, Hoshana Rabbah falling on the Shabbos, we didn't want that to happen. So, do we tamper with it or no? In those days, we couldn't touch anything. We had to leave it the way it is. The Tanya, it's machlekes between Rabbanan and Achayim. The Tanya we learned, the Rabbanan say yes. The Rabbanan say that we always move around the Chedesh depending on our needs. For example, in Yom Kippur and so on and so forth. However, the Achayim say there's a fixed calendar. We don't care. We know that there's Tanya. Achayim say ain't bein atzedes la atzedes and bein Shana. There's no difference when you're Yom Tov. If it's not an Ibiyar, whatever day the Shana falls out this year, next year it's 4 days later. The Im Haisa Shana Mu'bedes, it was a leap year, Chamisha. Then it is 5 days because you have an extra 29 days, extra others, so it pushes up by another day. So therefore, our Mishnah holds like that what do you call it? Our Mishnah holds like the Rabbana that say that we'll make sure Sukkot never falls out on Friday. That's why we don't bring that example. You brought me that other Mishnah, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva. They argue about a case where Yom Kippur falls on a Sunday, and Abzeida's comments over there. That's going according to the Chedim. That's always 4 days later, and therefore for Rosh Hashanah 1 year will be on a Thursday. Next year it'll be, and Rosh Hashanah could fall on a Thursday. The next year it'll be sorry. If Rosh Hashanah, if Yom Kippur falls on a Thursday, then next year it will be on a Sunday. Basically, as a question going back to this, what Rabbi Acha said before, that you have 9. Extra blast for every Muslim. It says that Rosh Chodesh falls out on Shabbos. Shir shel Rosh Chodesh doiche shil shel Shabbos. It sounds like that the shir that we completely push away Shabbos, we ignore Shabbos, and we only sing the song to do with Rosh Chodesh. Sounds like that we don't do the song by the Korban Musaf of Shabbos. We only do the Rosh Chodesh one, and the blast came with. Remember the way it worked. The Levim used to sing this particular shir, and they paused 3 times, and they used to make these blasts. So these 9 blasts. Every time they paused, they blew 3 times. So that's clearly here that you don't do both kabbalas. And according to you, they should say the shir for both, so that you can do all the blasts. You misunderstood. Doesn't mean that we completely ignore it. Just the question is the priority. We prioritize Rosh Chodesh over Shabbos, but we do both, and if we have 9 blasts for each, as the Gemara of Avamai, why would Rosh Chodesh come first? Don't we have a rule? It's axiomatic that you always do what's more frequent. So why in the world would you prioritize Rosh Chodesh over Shabbos? Amr Rabbi said, Leda, we want everyone to know. We want everyone to know that Rosh Chodesh was done today. So therefore, the first shir that we sing is the shir of Rosh Chodesh. Everyone should realize that it's Rosh Chodesh today. And everyone should realize that it's with a certainty, and people shouldn't walk around with misgivings, because most people don't see the Chiddush Levana, they didn't hear about it. This way, everyone knows about it. Says the Gemara, but we have another method, another strategy to let everyone know. Says the Gemara, this is the hekeh that we do. What? We prioritize the Korban Musaf Rosh Chodesh over Shabbos. There's another hekeh altogether that was done that everybody will see, and that they can pass on the message. We learned that the parts of the Korban Tamid, the fat, but all the other limbs of the Korban Shachar, nitnin, they would. Remember, we learned there was 6 kohanim that had that they divided the Korban, how they would walk up the ramp and bring it to the top of the Mizbeach. And it says over there, first they would place it on the ramp, on the bottom half of the ramp, on the eastern side, and then the other kohanim would take it up to the top. And they, what do you call it? And this is, they would know by putting it on the bottom half of the ramp, they knew this is the Korban Tamid, because sometimes the limbs of the Korban Tamid was a little bit into the Korban Musaf, so they had to make some kind of a heker that the kohanim should realize that they shouldn't roast the musaf before the Korban Tamid. So they always place the Korban Tamid on the bottom half, on the lower half of the ramp. So they shouldn't. When they go there, they'll see, oh, the Korban Tamid hasn't been done yet. Because remember, the first korban that has to be burnt and roasted is the Korban Tamid Shachar. Not only the first korban the shechta, but the first korban they put in Mizbech. So it says there, they will place it in the Chatzi Kebesh on the lower half of the ramp, but which side? The Mizrach, on the east side, facing the entrance of the Beis HaMikdash. V'shel Musafin, and where do they place the limbs of the Musaf? Nitnin also Mechatzi Kebesh Lamata, the bottom half of the ramp, but b'maida, facing the Beis HaMikdash, because it was 16 amas wide to the face of the Beis HaMikdash. And V'shel Chodesh, where did the place of Chodesh? Nitnin Tachas Karkav Mizbech Ulamata, and the Rosh Chodesh they will place it by the Charkov is the Seviv, that walkway around the middle of the Mizbech, 5 amas above. So they will place it on the ramp a little bit above the midpoint. Remember, the ramp went up 9 amas, and the Charkov was 5 amas high. So this was they position on the Kevish, which is above the midpoint. So the Rosh Chodesh was higher than the other 2. And everybody was able to see the Rosh Chodesh. So we had a hecker right there. That's Rosh Chodesh. This is Rosh Chodesh, because the other ones were always below the bottom half. Rabbi Yochanan said, why would they put the Rosh Chodesh above the Musaf and the Korban Tamid? Later, so everyone should be aware. So Rosh Chodesh came in time. So the Gemara says, so what do you need? The hecker that you're telling me it's only a question of priorities, that the Korban Musaf of Rosh Chodesh take priority of Korban Musaf of Shabbos. We already have a hecker that is Rosh Chodesh. Says the Gemara, we make 2 heker. The Chazi Hayi Chazi, but Chazi Hayi. Not everyone sees what's on the ramp, and not everyone sees which korban they brought. So the different kohanim will see different things, and they'll spread the word, and that's how they will disseminate the idea that today was the real Rosh Chodesh. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow in Mitzvah Hashem. We're nearing the end of